Hi everybody, welcome to the county seat today. I'm your host, Chad Booth. You know, November 6th is not very far away, and that is Election Day. Now, if you're like me, you have probably been following the national elections with all the gravitas and the issues facing us. But let me ask you this question. What are the chances in your lifetime that you will ever be able to sit down with the President of the United States, a U.S. Senator, or even a U.S. Congressman and talk to them face to face about the way they are governing in your behalf? Pretty slim. However, it's a different story at the county level. That's where the concept of authority and responsibility come together. And perhaps that's why we vote for more elected positions at the county level than any other level of government. The important thing to know is, who are you voting for? What offices are actually elected at the county level? And what does it take to fulfill those duties? That will be the topic of our show today. But first, we want to talk about the miracle of elections themselves. It takes a whole bunch of effort to put on a good election. Here with that story is Terry Wood.
You know, many of us who have voted have rarely taken the time to ponder how everything came together to create an election. After all, when you vote on November 6th, it'll only take a few minutes to sign a roll and cast a ballot. But the journey to that final task started more than half a year earlier, when individuals took the first step in seeking office by declaring their candidacy with the county clerk.
Candidates filed in March. The deadline was March 17th for this particular election year. And then they went to their respective county conventions, if it was a county level race, and got the nomination of the county delegates. If they didn't get 60% of the delegate vote, then they had a public primary, and that's where we came in. And so then we immediately are setting up for those primaries, and we don't even know where they're going to occur until after those conventions are completed in May, and so it's really a scramble.
What does a county clerk have to accomplish to hold an election? The list is actually longer than you think.
Staff the elections, train the poll workers, keep all the voter registration records, and facilitate that the elections take place.
One of the biggest challenges for any jurisdiction putting on an election is always getting enough poll workers. Whether it's a presidential election for us where we need, you know, for Utah County, we can need nearly 1,000 poll workers to pull that off, all the way down to a small election way out in Goshen, a small community, you know, where they need maybe 6 or 10 poll workers.
The county clerk is the official election officer for all federal, state, and county elections. The county clerk is not responsible for municipal or district elections, but often they do conduct those elections through special agreements with the cities. Early voting has already begun for the general election, which is held during the even-numbered years for federal, state, and county elections. Municipal elections, on the other hand, are held during odd-numbered years. In recent years, the process of voting has caught up with the times, from punching a ballot to pointing at an electronic display.
It has changed so much, it's amazing. First of all, the numbers of people obviously have changed. We got the electronic voting system in 2006, and now they can do the whole registration completely online.
The ease of voting can be concerning to some, but the checks and balances are still in place, and the system is still secure, not only in the verification of the eligibility of the voter, but in the actual voting process too. Electronic voting has quite a bit of redundancy to assure accurate poll results.
The poll workers who are watching one another, first thing they do is they run a zero report in the morning, and they have to sign off on that to show that there are absolutely no votes already recorded on that machine. And then as the votes are cast, a printout of every vote cast on that voting machine is on this canister, and it's spooled up into this canister. At the end of the night, the poll workers do a reconciliation statement. They check every vote cast on each machine as far as the number, and they reconcile it with the number of votes that were recorded as cast, or the number of people that have voted in the official register, and they sign off on that. And one of the things people don't realize, we take a random number assigned by the Lieutenant Governor of these paper spools, and we actually unspool them in a public audit. And we hand count the votes cast on that paper trail, and it has to match what's recorded on that memory card. And then if there's a close race, we actually go back and do a larger number of a manual count of these paper spools. And if these things miserably failed, which they haven't, but if they did, we could actually do a hand count of every single ballot that was cast.
So as you can see, the county has done its due diligence to protect our basic freedom to choose our leaders. With early voting, vote by mail, in addition to the November 6th polling places, there is virtually no reason that all of us cannot and should not vote. And remember the adage, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. For the county seat, I'm Terry Wood.
Thanks, Terry. Remarkable, isn't it? What I would like you to do as a viewer, though, is make sure that you take that opportunity after all that effort to get out and vote. It really is an important part of your franchise as a citizen. Well, stay with us. We will be back with the county seat. When we come back, we will start our rundown of the different county offices, who you're electing, and what their jobs are. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Ever wanted to go on a vacation to Mars? What about a visit to the Old West? Impossible, right? Well, forget what you think is real. In southern Utah's Kane County, other worlds are just an ATV ride away. The Old West lives on in every sunset. From the downtown streets of Little Hollywood to the vistas that have inspired the world. Never find yourself closer to home and yet farther than you've ever been. Southern Utah's Kane County, where anywhere is possible.
Anything worth doing in this quiet little town?
You strike me as the kind of girl that likes a manicure and a massage.
I was hoping for something a little more vigorous.
Vigorous, I can do.
And I thought you'd be riding side saddle.
What? I'm gonna regret this.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah's students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
What do you picture when you hear Rich County, Utah? Bear Lake Adventure, snowmobile action, pristine skiing, spectacular solitude. Well, if that isn't what first came to mind, then you just don't know Rich County. The Bear Lake Monster Polar Plunge, snowmobiling Monte Cristo, ice fishing Bear Lake, skiing the backcountry, fishing at the Cisco Disco. Come and find out what you never knew you were missing. Rich County, Utah.